Hello, Cancer. Welcome to the Plaid Sheep Oracle. And you have quite a reading today. We begin with this Silence Snow card. And I really felt it. This deep, silent place within you. The space of sureness, the space of self, space of knowing, a space where you can always go. Space where maybe you have been discovering new things about yourself. Now, the second card didn't come out right away. The card that came out first was the Goblin. But I knew that this was not actually the card. This was that part of us that's doesn't want change. Kind of giving me the raspberry. No. I don't want to talk about what Cancer wants to talk about. So I shuffled again and got love. And not just any love, Cancer, but romantic, erotic, sensual, transformative love. We often equate Cancer with love, but we usually go sort of on the maternal side, the nurturer. Cancer is a nurturer. But I think that all signs have their own connection to Eros. And in fact, you can have the asteroid Eros in any sign. I have Eros in Capricorn. And if you go and find your Eros, be careful if you Google Eros in X sign. Read with skepticism. Experience it for yourself. But Eros, the asteroid, is going to enter Cancer. Or I'm sorry, enter Pisces and trine Cancer on June 13th. So just a couple of weeks away. He stays there for a month, goes back to Aquarius until December, where he comes back in to Pisces. And then just a few days later, he meets Saturn there. Now, the other thing going on right at this moment, Venus is in your sign, Cancer. And she is certainly all things sensual. Meanwhile, the moon is in Leo. And just yesterday, she met Mars in Leo. And Mars is also all things sensual, just from a different perspective. Feminine and masculine perceptions. Now, love, erotic love particularly, is like money. It's got a lot of baggage in our society. On the one side of the spectrum, we have the sort of Disney-fied version, where you're the prince or the princess. And on the other side, we have the uber cynical, romantic love is a corporate scheme to get us to buy things on Valentine's Day. There is longing contrasted with shame. There's imaging that we have about who is and is not allowed to have romantic love. Forget it. It's kind of what we do here on this channel, isn't it? We forget it. And even though we start here, sunbeam, with this 8 of fire. And I tell you, Cancer, there are 8 8s in your reading. 8 8s with all the elements represented. Eight is power. 8 is balance reachieved after the 7. The modern numeral 8 is both infinity on its side, as well as 2 circles connected, which we see in the symbol on this love card. But here we're sort of thinking about the family group. We often learn about romantic love from our family of origin. Even if you were raised by a single parent, they may have had romantic relationships, or there were other adults around you that had them. And that can create a real stamp for us. A hurdle to overcome. How we initially were imprinted with the concept. Now the second 8 comes out not initially, this is the 7 of air, but underneath that, which is this healing card. And part of what this is talking about is healing whatever the misconceptions, distortions, baggage you have regarding romantic, erotic love. And also with all of these people here, that what begins in relationship is healed completely in relationship. So you can do a great deal of personal healing. But a relationship wound needs a relationship for the final healing to occur. And you are on your way, Cancer. You are following the lights out of the swamp. 3 of fire, setting out boldly. On your way. No more messing about. No more perseverating. You've had enough of feeling shame around this subject. Eight, number 2, 8 of water, heading back into the sea, into the ocean depths. Relearning the ways of Eros. personally and with another. You know, I was reminded when looking at this card that crabs move sideways, not following what everybody else does. Returning to that Mother Ocean, returning to the moon, Cancer. Returning to the mystery. To what can maybe never be fully known, but endlessly explored. And 8, number 4. The 8 of air. The wider view of things. The ability to see where you've blocked yourself off. And maybe how to bypass that. You know, you don't necessarily have to bust through. You just go around. But now you can see. And you can see what maybe more clearly what it is that you want. We want what we want. And yes, sometimes when we're in a deeply painful place, we can want things that maybe wouldn't be good for us in the long run. But you are getting clear, Cancer. You are finding this core of yourself. And the desires that come out of there are true. And gorgeous. And yours. And you want what you want. So we have this 5 of air. And this card always makes me, or well, often, makes me think about how we view things. You know, is this trouble? Being in the rain, having to protect the chicks? Maybe not. These owls look pretty content still. The rain is a part of things. There may be an air clearing that needs to happen. For you, and if you are already with another person whom you love, things may need to be cleared, washed, seen anew. We can become very automated in our lives, doing the same things every day, seeing the people in our lives in the same way, thinking that we really know them. But maybe we don't. Do they really know us? Are there things that you keep secret? Things you haven't shared? Especially on this front of desire. And how you want your relationship to be. we are often in the modern world very critical of the past. We talk about how marriage was this financial arrangement, and women had to be married because they couldn't really work or handle money. That it was a kind of prison for people, the ball and chain. But I think that's throwing everything out because of some misuse. The modern conception of the partner marriage, two people who, you know, do everything 50-50, everybody does, each person does half the household chores, it's all equitable and even, and perhaps really flat. And uninteresting, perhaps. Or maybe there's just parts that are flat. Maybe you feel really good most of the time, but then there's this little something, a longing that's been scratching at you, that has to do with how you want to experience this relationship. That you want romance. Even though that sounds trite or not evolved. You want what you want. So here is the Hermit, the closed door. You're standing there, Cancer, you've got your hand on the knob. And on the other side is this unicorn. I love this card. This unicorn. Calling you to love and adventure and play and romance. To ride out with your lover. And at the bottom of the deck is 8 number 5. This, a very different 8 of fire. No family and friends and whoever giving you their opinions, their 2 cents. This is you on your magical panda in this magical forest, finding wonder in yourself and your desire, and in your partner's, your other person's desire. And then 8 number 6. Another thing we often say about romantic love is that it takes work. It's work. And we even talk about, emotional labor. This is a thing that's appeared in the last, 10 years? The idea that some person in the relationship is doing all the emotional labor. And during the pandemic lockdown, particularly, there was talk of the unpaid labor in the family, often done by the woman in this story. And I have a couple of issues with that. One is that it commodifies your life. Now I get it, I do. For a long time, what women did in the home was devalued. I think a lot of that began in the Industrial Revolution, and with all those labor-saving devices. There was a devaluing of what a woman did. She's just a housewife. And so we want to give it value, and the only way we know how to do that is to attach a monetary number. But this, our life, my life, I want that to be a labor of love. Something I would do, that I do without being paid. I don't need to be paid. I don't want to be paid. Now, this doesn't mean that you don't voice concerns that you have or needs that you have. If you say to your person, I need help. You know, I find myself always being the peacemaker in the family. And it's tiring. I don't want to have that all the time. Or I don't want to be the one who has to remember all of the details of, that go along with raising children, all their appointments and things on the calendar and teachers' names and all these things. I want to help with that. But don't commodify it. Don't think of it that you're not being paid for this. That takes away the secret holy quality of living in relationship with others. This 8 of Earth is so beautiful. It's not efforting. It's not blood, sweat, and tears. This is joy and music. The holy work of relationship. The devotion. Then we have this temptation card. And I think this is meant to be an apple. But I always think of it as a peach. Like James and the giant peach. Because it's kind of peachy. It looks like it could be a little fuzzy. And when I think of apples, apples are crisp. And they show up when the weather is crisp. And in the fall, they're associated, the fall is sort of associated with going back to school or getting back to work. Days are getting chillier. We might not be spending as much time outside. Whereas peaches are summer fruit. And when you bite into a peach, it's not crisp. It's juicy You bite into the peach and its juices run down your chin. Right, it's peaches that make it into songs. I really love your peaches, want to shake your tree. That kind of feeling of abandon and even of excess. Too much is never enough. And this is the Devil card in this deck. Subversive. Against the status quo. And you're getting up and answering the call. If you've been sort of dreaming of this peach, sleeping, dreaming of this peach, now you are up. You are awake. Answering the call. Eight, number 7. 8 of air again. And also with a kind of high view, and in this case it's a high view of all of the miscellaneous messaging and stuff and whatnot, and you're just letting it go. You're watching it all fall away. It's not for you anymore, whatever it was. You are discovering for yourself what you want. What you want for your heart, for your body, for your mind. Because for sure the mind is an erotic, erogenous organ. So we get the Hermit again, although this time you are out and about. You've got your lantern, you're surveying things, you're ready to go. And there may be some little corner of you that's still being goblinish. This 10 of Wands, under the weight of responsibilities. And I know that life can be very complicated and filled with all sorts of commitments and obligations. And I would never imply that this will always be easy. Or without bumps and turns and detours. But you do have a fair amount of control of where you put your attention. And that is a big part of the process. Where do you put your attention? And I know there's so much stuff out there that's tempting. It's a practice. Don't nag yourself or shame yourself about it. But I think that the more that you explore this, the easier it will get, because it's going to just feel so good. Because here you have the Queen of Wands. Aries energy. Your fellow cardinal angular sign. The internal experience of passion and desire. To want. And then the Four of Wands. And not the usual 4 poles, looking like they could be a little place where you might have a marriage, a little structure. These are unicorns. 4 unicorns headed off to play. And then the Queen of Pentacles. Reminding you of that inner place, that inner core, that space of stability, and also of the bodily experience. The Pentacles. The way that Eros can be explored in all different ways through scent and touch and taste, through music and poetry and color and imagination. So, in case we weren't aware of where this was going, we get death, transformation, Scorpio, trine your sign, a fellow water sign. Channel that Scorpio energy. You've got Scorpio in your chart somewhere. Scorpio will always give you permission. If that's what you need, you go. Get on your horse and ride. And the Ace of Cups. Here it is. Everything. Everything, that water, that deep ocean, well, underground river water that flows through you. You know, when I was first learning the tarot many years ago, the star card was often equated with sex. You don't really see that so much now. But there she was in the traditional card. She's naked, pouring water out. So I still think of her that way, the star, when she's depicted that way. Pouring out. And your person pouring into you. Pouring into each other. And then you're on your way. When you accept the cup, step 1, you're on your way. And here Justice, I think, is coming out as a representative for Libra. Home of Venus, sign of relationships, intimate, or I should say one-on-one relationships. Individual relationships as opposed to with a whole group of people. And even if you are in a polyamorous relationship, there are times when you are just with one other person. You and them. The secret moment of that. You know, and it doesn't always have to be, you know, mind-blowing, orgasmic sex. That's only one facet on the diamond. to know one another, to explore one another. And then you show up as the moon. This card is often equated with Pisces, but of course, kind of as the unknown, the mystery. But of course, the moon is your dispositor, your planet. Now in Leo at this very moment. And actually, it's another 8 that didn't show up here. 8 is most frequently the Strength card, which is Leo's card. Creativity, heart-based choices, wonder. Leo is also associated with the 5th house, which is joyful sex. Scorpio is the 8th house, where sometimes you find taboo sex. And I suggest you explore that too if you want to. Don't feel required just because I said it. But if you want to, if there's something that you want that is on your list of taboo things, and your list might be different from my list. Go on. Do what you want. You want what you want. And now we have number 8. Win. Bliss. It's the bliss card. Right, with all the colors of the chakras actually are in here somewhere except for green. But pink and orange and red and purple and blue, and there's a little green going on. Full, the whole body bliss. The sunlight is really but it's gorgeous too, the sunlight. And underneath we have this yarn intertwined card. Your life intertwined. And that can be a frightening thing too. I think this goblin had, various fears. And really enmeshing your life with somebody can be one of them. To kind of take on, it is kind of a responsibility. And to take somebody's interests as equal to your own. And to do the process of finding win-win situations rather than compromise, which I think can be something that builds resentment over time if you're always finding you have to compromise. And then the Bifrost. The journey home. The journey home. And then interestingly, this resistance card. And I think it's coming up here both as a nod to the fact that you may have a lot of resistance, but also to say that you can resist whatever somebody is trying to put on you about this subject. And resist your own impulse to run. And then we get this Witchcraft card. Witchcraft, sorcery, elder. So magic, the magic of the erotic. And if you do magic, if you are a magical worker, if you do spellcraft and ritual, to bring Eros into it. To bring your whole self into it. To allow the magic. Oh, Cancer. I'm excited for you. You go. I think this will open up many things for you in many ways. This dance with Eros, with romantic love. I wish you all the very best, Cancer, and I'll see you next time. So long.